The encrypted message came through at 1:47 p.m., and Gunnery Sergeant Jake Morrison felt his blood turn cold. Gunny, Sergeant just intercepted Russian communications. They're coordinating with Iranian forces. Both nations. Targeting our position. Morrison walked to the radar screen. 24 Iranian boats. But now, 3 Russian warships on the horizon. Providing fire support. Electronic warfare. Satellite targeting. He'd been a Marine for 16 years. Survived Fallujah. Ramadi. Helmand Province. But he'd never faced 2 nations coordinating against his position. 15 Marines. 1 underground intelligence facility. And a Russian-Iranian joint assault force that outnumbered them 30-1. His hand went to the comm, all hands, battle stations. Russians are backing the Iranians. This just got real. Greater Tunb Island, December 8, 2025. 2:38 p.m. Russia and Iran launched their first coordinated ground assault against American forces. And what happened over the next 43 minutes would prove why even overwhelming numbers and foreign support mean nothing against Marines who refuse to lose. This is that story. Every bullet. Every decision. Every impossible choice. Subscribe now, because what happens next will redefine modern warfare. Let me ask you something. What happens when 2 nations that hate America decide your Marines are the perfect target to test their partnership? For 3 months, Russian and Iranian military commanders had been meeting. Not in Moscow or Tehran, in Damascus, where Syrian allies provided cover for coordination that Western intelligence barely detected. The plan was sophisticated. Iran would provide the assault force, 300 Revolutionary Guard commandos, their best troops. Russia would provide something more valuable: intelligence, electronic warfare, and naval fire support. Russian satellites had identified the facility weeks earlier. Thermal imaging detected power signatures. Communications intercepts revealed American encryption. Moscow shared everything with Tehran. Target: a covert U.S. intelligence facility on Greater Tunb Island. Hidden beneath cliffs. Monitoring every Iranian naval movement in the Gulf. Defended by just 15 Marines. Russia saw opportunity. Iran saw revenge. Together, they believed they could eliminate American intelligence gathering, capture Marines, and prove that coordinated action could defeat U.S. forces. At 2:05 p.m., 24 Revolutionary Guard boats launched from Bandar Abbas. 300 Iranian commandos. Artillery support vessels. The largest assault Iran had ever mounted against an American position. But 3 Russian warships, a destroyer and 2 frigates, took up positions offshore. Their mission: provide targeting data, electronic warfare support, and naval gunfire if needed. This wasn't just Iran attacking. This was Russia backing Iran's play against American forces. Gunnery Sergeant Morrison received the intelligence update at 2:38 p.m. Iranian boats inbound. Russian warships providing support. He looked at his 14 Marines. Young faces processing what this meant. Not just defending against Iran. Defending against 2 nations working together. Listen up, Morrison said. Russians are coordinating this attack. That means better targeting. Better intelligence. But here's what they don't know: we're Marines. And Marines don't lose. Not to Iran. Not to Russia. Not to both. At 2:43 p.m., the Iranian boats reached weapons range. But they weren't using their own radar. Russian ships offshore were providing targeting data via encrypted link. Fire control coordinates. Real-time updates. Professional military coordination. The Iranian commander's radio call came through in English: American forces, you have no escape. Two nations surround you. Surrender now. Morrison's response was transmitted so every boat and every Russian ship could hear. This is United States Marine Corps. We don't surrender. Not to Iran. Not to Russia. Not to anybody. Come get some. At 2:44 p.m., the assault began. But it was different than Morrison expected. More coordinated. More professional. Iranian boats attacked in waves, textbook Russian doctrine. First wave suppressive fire. Second wave landing troops. Third wave exploiting gaps. And Russian naval guns opened fire. Not at the Marines directly, at the cliffs above them. Trying to trigger rock slides. Seal escape routes. Russian electronic warfare activated. Jamming American communications. Trying to isolate the Marines. Cut them off from reinforcements. Morrison's radio filled with static. His satellite uplink flickered. The Russians were good. Professional. Making this harder than any exercise had prepared them for. But Morrison had planned for this. Hardened communications. Backup systems. The facility was designed to survive exactly this kind of attack. He activated the backup transmitter. All forces, this is Island Fortress. Under coordinated Russian-Iranian attack. Need immediate support. The response came through clear. Marines inbound. 20 minutes. Hold position. 20 minutes. Against 300 Iranian troops with Russian fire support. This is where technology meets human courage. Stay with me, this gets intense. The Iranian troops hit the beach at 2:46 p.m. Professional. Aggressive. Using cover and maneuver like they'd been trained by someone who knew what they were doing. Because they had been. Russian military advisors had spent months training this assault force. Teaching them tactics. Coordination. How to overwhelm a fortified position. Morrison watched them advance. Perfect fire teams. Covering movements. Suppressive fire. This wasn't the usual Revolutionary Guard bluster. This was professional military operation. They've got Russian training, he told his Marines. Stay disciplined. Make every shot count. The Marines fought back with devastating precision. Javelin missiles obliterated Iranian boats trying to land more troops. Heavy machine guns cut down advancing commandos. Claymore mines shredded the first assault wave. But the Iranians kept coming. And Russian naval guns kept firing. Creating chaos. Forcing the Marines to cover multiple angles. At 2:51 p.m., Iranian troops breached the outer perimeter. Close quarters combat. Grenades in confined spaces. Fighting room to room in the facility's outer sections. Morrison's radio crackled with Russian voice. American commander, your position is hopeless. Two nations have coordinated your defeat. Surrender your facility. Morrison keyed his response, not just to the Russians, but broadcasting so his Marines could hear. Russian ship, you're backing the wrong side. And in 15 minutes, you're going to learn why. At 2:56 p.m., for F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters screamed over Greater Tunb Island. The pilots saw everything. Iranian troops everywhere. Russian warships offshore providing fire support. Marines defending desperately. All fighters, weapons free. Priority, Russian ships providing fire support. Then Iranian boats. The F-35s weren't just attacking Iranians. They were engaging the Russian ships backing them. Precision-guided bombs dropped. The Russian destroyer took 2 hits, not enough to sink, but enough to cripple fire control systems. The ship went dark. Silent. Combat ineffective. The 2 Russian frigates turned away immediately. running for international waters, abandoning their Iranian partners the moment they came under fire. The Iranian commandos watched their Russian support disappear. Suddenly alone. Suddenly facing American air power without the promised electronic warfare coverage. At 2:58 p.m., 8 AH-1Z Viper gunships arrived. Hellfire missiles destroyed Iranian boats. Rockets shredded troops on the beach. The assault was collapsing. But Iran had committed everything. More boats appeared, reinforcements from the mainland. Another 200 troops. America's response was overwhelming. At 3:03 p.m., 16 MV-22 Ospreys descended on the island. Not to evacuate, to reinforce. Nearly 400 Marines poured out, establishing positions, trapping Iranian forces between defenders and reinforcements. The Iranian troops realized their situation. Surrounded. No Russian support. No air cover. No escape. At 3:12 p.m., the Iranian commander radioed surrender. His Russian coordinators had abandoned him. His assault force was destroyed. The facility remained secure. Let me give you the timeline. 2:38 p.m., Iranian assault force approaches with Russian support. 2:43 p.m., coordinated attack begins, Iranian troops. Russian naval guns. 2:46 p.m., Iranian troops breach outer perimeter. 2:56 p.m., F-35s arrive, strike Russian ships. 2:58 p.m., Russian ships flee. Abandoning Iran. 3:03 p.m., 400 Marines arrive as reinforcements. 3:12 p.m., Iranian forces surrender. 3:21 p.m. 43 minutes after attack began. Battle over. Results: 0 Marines killed. Several wounded, all recovered. Facility intact. Intelligence secure. Hundreds of Iranian casualties. Over 100 prisoners. 1 Russian destroyer crippled. 2 Russian frigates fled Russia and Iran. Coordinated for months. Shared intelligence. Planned joint operations. Believed that together they could overwhelm 15 Marines. They were catastrophically wrong. And Russia abandoned Iran the moment American air power arrived. This is what partnerships of convenience look like under pressure. They collapse. Within hours, Russian and Iranian state media spun separate stories. Russian Navy vessels conducting routine exercises came under unprovoked American attack. Iranian media, Revolutionary Guard successfully defended territory against American infiltration. Both claimed victory. Neither mentioned the surrendered troops, the crippled Russian ship, the destroyed boats. But satellite imagery showed truth. American drones recorded everything. Iranian troops surrendering. Russian ships fleeing. Marines standing victorious. The Pentagon released footage. Before and after shots. Russian ship damaged. Iranian boats destroyed. The message unmistakable. Statement from Defense Secretary: Russian and Iranian forces conducted coordinated assault on American military facility. 15 Marines defended for 31 minutes until reinforcements arrived. All attackers neutralized or captured. 1 Russian warship crippled. Message sent: attacking American forces, even with foreign support, ends in defeat. Strategic implications rippled immediately. Russia had backed Iran's assault with targeting data, electronic warfare, and naval fire support. The moment American fighters engaged, Russian ships fled. Abandoned their partners. Proved that Moscow's support evaporates under pressure. Iran lost hundreds of troops and dozens of boats, testing whether Russian backing made them stronger. They learned it didn't. They learned Russia runs when fighting gets real. Gulf nations watched carefully. If Russia abandons Iran mid-battle, their alliance is worthless. UAE increased cooperation with U.S. forces. Saudi Arabia requested expanded intelligence sharing. Operation Island Fortress proved something Russia and Iran failed to understand together. Coordinating doesn't make you stronger if one partner flees the moment fighting begins. Russia provided intelligence and support, until American fighters showed up. Then they ran. Iran brought 300 troops against 15 Marines. With Russian backing, they believed they'd win. Instead, they learned that Russian support is worthless under pressure. The 15 Marines who held for 31 minutes didn't know Russia would abandon Iran. They just knew their job: hold the position. Defend the facility. Trust reinforcements would come. And reinforcements always come. That's the promise every Marine knows. Semper Fidelis isn't just words, it's reality. December 8, 2025. Greater Tunb Island. 2:38 p.m. Russia and Iran coordinate assault on 15 Marines. 3:21 p.m. 43 minutes later. Hundreds of Iranian casualties. Russian ships fleeing. Marines victorious. To those 15 Marines, you faced two nations and never blinked. We see you. To the 400 who arrived as reinforcements, perfect execution. Thank you. Until next time, stay informed, and remember that real allies don't run when bullets fly. See you soon.